As an adventurer, Craig Kelly used to say, if you're able to do something, you owe it to yourself to do that.
To be honest, I didn't really know too many details other than it was Mount Rishiri, we'd try and snowboard it, and it could be a grand adventure. There was 3 days of travel just to get to the island, and when we arrived it was pretty socked in, pretty windy, but full of potential.
The mystery of it all just kept growing and building.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. I had never seen a volcano just coming out of the ocean. It's like nothing else. We spent a year putting this plan and putting this trip together, and here we are.
Should we go get on this land?
Yeah.
So the first day we went into the pond and toured up through this beautiful forest. It was snowing and there was this ice that had frozen to all the tree branches, and with the wind they kind of swayed as if you were underwater.
These are really good. You guys get sick of these?
The colors and the textures were, I found, really fascinating. Maybe because of jet lag, but I think really because this place is truly special and magical that way.
There was a melt freeze crust with a little bit of snow, 4 or 5 centimeters from precipitation that had been coming that day that we rode through, which was great. Stayed on the leeward side of where the winds were and just kind of had a fun day. Worked on transition from skins to downhill and just made sure our gear was working. I think we yo-yoed 3-4 runs. It was quite fun, hanging with everybody and getting to ride with everybody. I don't think we had all ridden together before, so that was really quite a good thing to do.
The group came together really smoothly, and group dynamic was just amazing. A really fantastic group of people to do this trip with. The
forecast, which is really good here in Japan, the detail in the forecasting is as good as I've seen anywhere, was for the winds to pick up in the afternoon, starting with some semi-clear skies.
Didn't look good for another summit day, so we went into another drainage with our host Toshi and our guides.
As we were walking up and getting a feel for the snow, you could really feel that melt freeze crust from precipitation rain that had frozen that was going to bond anything below it. It was 3 centimeters thick, super hard. So as far as figuring out our risk management and avalanche hazard, we only had to do a couple of hand shears. We didn't do any real deep snow profiles because there's no way a rider could penetrate any deeper.
We got up to just above tree line and got to see quite a bit more of the mountain. It's like it looked just fantastic. Like something out of a fantasy, or, you know.
It was really fun to go up separate little ridges and then walk through some howling winds. There were times where you would just break out of this shallow bowl onto an easy ridge and your snowboard would just get picked up as it was in the air transitioning to your next step. It was quite wild.
Rishiri is really an ideal place for product testing. You're starting at sea level, going all the way up into the alpine, and you're touring, so it's very challenging to manage your layers. We saw rain, snow, high winds, sun, and everything in between, sometimes in the same day. It's equipment, it's imperative that it functions properly for you to even be able to do what you're doing. So it's just a fantastic opportunity to learn and think about how products could be improved and make everything work together as a system.
We originally had a few more days to really focus on getting to the summit, seeing more of the island and focusing on the expedition.
That being said, the situation has changed dynamically. Things are a little weird.
Lockdown.
Coronavirus
Cases soar.
This COVID virus is like nothing else I've ever seen.
Also advises Canadians not to leave the country unless absolutely necessary.
Yesterday, the government of Canada advised all Canadians to return home while they still can.
Here we are now at the airport, trying to decide what we're going to do next. There's been some big changes with us coming back to Canada.
I actually feel more at risk going home than I have staying here. Of course we were still looking at the mountain every day. Of course we were still looking at the forecast, but now we had a day that we needed to make it happen. And there was a lot of pressure there. And so we went for it. We set out at 6 o'clock, and it was absolutely stunning.
It was so exciting to have that rush of this is where we're going, this is what we came to ride, and here we go.
We gained the high point before the final approach, and at that point the clouds really started to come in. Our forecast had projected fog would roll in around noon and dissipate around 2 p.m. So we felt pretty confident that the forecast would remain true, so we slowly started to make our way up to the summit.
The last hour and a half to 2 hours, we were just in whiteout, walking with crampons and an ice axe. Sure enough, we came to the summit, and we didn't even know it was the summit. It's like, is this the summit? I think this is the summit. This is probably the summit. All right, here we are, top of Rishiri in a milk white bottle. But it's been amazing, really fun, super cool.
I didn't care that we couldn't see anything. The multiple days of travel, the countless months of planning, the worry of this virus, everything just seemed to dissipate. We had arrived.
Had I not been so emotionally invested in this trip, I would have, as a guide, said, yeah, we got to get off this thing earlier. But we hung around as long as we could, hoping for a break, but never came.
I don't have too much experience walking down an icy mountain in crampons with a board on my back, so personally, I felt it was a really good learning opportunity. And to our surprise, it actually started to clear. We looked down one side of the ridge and it was in full shadow, but we knew that there was good snow there. And we looked down the other side of the ridge where the sun had started to break, the clouds were dissipating, you could see the ocean, and it was absolutely perfect. It was not.
Tom was ready before me and thought he was just going to slip down to where I was, lost the edge and went for a slide. And then where I was covered with snow, and it was my turn, and I rode 4 big sweeping turns and hit the same firm melt freeze that he did, and went for a slide as well. It was quite a mistake to have come down that way.
We got so drawn into the light and the shape of the slope and the adventure that we forgot to pay attention to what was so obvious in front of us, that side had been wind blasted all few days that we were there. It had maybe snowed a little bit on top, but it was still bulletproof underneath. So at this point, Tom and Buff said, it's not safe, it's actually more of a hazard to get the rest of the crew down to them, that they were going to ride out the gully and call us from the road, and that we would make our way down probably the same way we came up. Fortunately, Yusuke had ridden the exact line that we were currently boot packing down. And so we transitioned to snowboarding and actually had a super fun ride down. Our entire group ended the day together safely, a little bruised and disappointed at the descent, but safe.
Beth, I'm really happy you're okay.
Yeah, me too.
I love trips like this in terms of thinking about the artwork and guiding in tandem and just trying to capture what it feels like to be in that moment. When we got up to the summit and we couldn't see anything, it didn't deter me from finding the joy and the beauty in that moment, because the entire process of getting there, the skin track, moving up it, had created so much joy in myself, both as an explorer and as an artist. I think the art process has allowed me to step back and really be present. It allows me to see beauty in everything, and it allows me to find joy in everything.